Okay, sorry if there was a microphone issue. Thank you, Kriziek, for letting me know. Hopefully this is fixed, and please let me know if the mic is still off. Meanwhile, while I was away, Kazuki has taken first place, and we had a 1 and 2 at the start of the downwind from the Japanese. Kazuki Kanako taking the first 2 places. Sweet Sailor and Bellstar are going to be the one chasing. And it looks like Sweet Sailor is going to be very close to Kanako. He's going to try to put a penalty here. Kanako also being slowed down by Bellstar. Kazuki's going to have to make a choice to try to help her out or keep sailing. In a 2v2, so in team racing, the position of each teammate obviously matters in the score. So your position is the number of points that you would bring to your team, and a friendly fire here. Sweet Sailor sailing into Bellstar. And Donnie, nice to see you in the chat. Thank you for confirming that the mic is now good. And so, yeah, I was saying in a team race, the score of each teammate obviously scores. Your position is the points you bring to the team, and you want the least amount of points possible. But if there's a tie, then the team who has the player who finished first is going to lose the round. So in a 2v2, 1 and 4 is going to lose versus 2 and 3. And we see another penalty here on Kanako as Kazuki has come to a full stop, letting Bellstar sail in front. So if they give that first place, as I was saying, they're going to try to make sure that Sweet Sailor is the one who finishes fourth so that they can take the win. And Sweet Sailor is going to take the penalty at the mark from Kazuki. Watch out for friendly fire. But is that going to be enough? As Bellstar over there is going to start the first upwind. Still in first place. Sorry, this is a risky move, but Sweet Sailor does manage to put a penalty on Kanako and is going to be in third now, as Kazuki is starting to entering the mark zone and trying to perform a mark trap, pushing Sweet Sailor away. And manages to slow him down enough for Kanako to pass in front again. And that means that Bellstar is going to have to make a choice now. Come back to help out her teammates and push one of the Japanese behind Sweet Sailor. And she does that by tacking in front of Kazuki, slowing him down. Will that be enough for Sweet Sailor to catch up? Because that means that he is also going to be in Kazuki's wind shadow as well, as he decides to tack away. And Bellstar tacking in now in front of Kanako. Watch out for not staying upwind for too long. That is an unfortunate move because that gave the advantage to the Japanese, who now have the 1 and 2 position. And if they can finish with 1-2, I think they have sailed every single 2v2 mixed race and finished with the 1 and 2, the Japanese. So we'll see how it goes, but it looks like a win for Japan. I don't think there is any way for the Swedes to catch up from this distance to the finish line. And round 1 is going to go to Japan. Score confirmation on your screen. Sorry, 1 and 2 for Japan, 3 and 4 for Sweden. That makes 1-0 after the first round in favor of Japan. And there we go, 1 minute, a bit more before the start. And Donnie, Japan's a super strong team, but I'm going to predict Sweden to take 2, so 5-2 for Japan. Japan is one of the favorites in this year's Nations Cup. They beat Italy, who themselves beat France 7-0, but then Japan did lose to France, so there's a rock paper scissors kind of thing going on between these three teams, and Sweden has been surprisingly good as well, giving Italy a very hard time, winning other matches as well. So I would say 5-2 is definitely a bit more realistic to me than a 6-1. And 10 seconds to go. There we have it. It's going to be a fairly even start. Furan had the best start, but then he's followed by the two Japanese. And Chris, I've also been wrong every time with my predictions. I think he had one right. Correct? We even celebrated for it. So we have kind of a split. We have Romel, and I think it's going to be KGR on the right over there, Wimwe, and Furan in the sorry, Seabear in the center, and a Yuku with Furan on the left over here. Still on the end shape, so that means that this first mark is going to be rounded by leaving the mark on starboard. And Yuko is going to continue to push Furan as far away as he can, so that's going to mean that the rest can catch up and take the advantage. It doesn't look like this is going to be one of the two, though. We are still on the first upwind, obviously. There is a downwind afterwards, and we know that the wind shadow with the Ilka can be very effective. It's just smaller than the star, so you got to stay close to your opponent. And with a 3v3, 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 always wins. And if you don't have 1 or 2 or 1 and 3, you gotta have less than 10 points, so get away from that 6th place. As it's gonna be KGR and Yuko rounding the first mark first, followed by Seabear and Furan, then Wimwe, and then Romel a bit behind. As Yuko is going to start his downwind, he's likely going to want to go very fast. If they can just keep this 1 and 2 position, they don't really care about what's happening behind. The Furan can be a danger for them. So is Seabear, though Seabear is focusing on Wimwe. As Furan took the penalty by KGR's defense. And Wimwe now slowing down Furan, meaning that KGR might be able to escape. He's going slightly slower, so looks like Furan is still able to slow him down slightly. Meanwhile, at the back, Seabear took a penalty from Wimwe. As Wimwe is going to now focus on Romel. But Romel takes the penalty. Japan still with the 1-2 position. Furan hasn't managed to catch up KGR now. KGR managed to escape his wind shadow. So Yuko has no reason to slow down for now. You see at the back, Seabear taking another penalty from Wingwe, so Wingwe doing some work behind, making sure that the rest of the Swedish have no chance of catching up his teammates in front. As everything is going to be on Furan's shoulder, he's going to have to try to put one of the two Japanese Yukor KGR behind him and hope for his teammates to push Minwi into 6. But it looks like Minwi has managed to escape Seabear. Yuko and KGR still in the 1 and 2. I think that this round number 2 is going to go for Japan. Seabear is still a bit too far to push Minwi further back. But with one missing player, there is no combination that the Swedish can have to take this round. So round 2 is going to go to Japan. As Yuko, KGR, and Uran soon are crossing the finish line. And Minwi is going to take 4th place in front of Seabear here. So it's going to be 2-0 for Japan. And we're going to head over to the next race in just a second. Confirmation of the score on your screen. There we go. Start procedure can go. And race number 3 is starting now. So 4v4 J70, Kazuki, Quich, 31471, Totexi, and Ozil versus Alec Moore, Harding, Furan, and Yoko. We have some big names, some famous names on both teams. And let's see how the Swedish are going to reply. So far, they're being led 2-0. It's 7 races in total, so first one to reach 4 is a win. Sweden will have to have a narrow loss, preferably, if they want to be able to compete, versus Poland for that 4th place, and Japan are going to want to have a decisive win if they want to tie up with France at 20 points in total. And 3 seconds to go. As Alakamor has taken a false start but did not see it yet. Or he did. Okay, and we have a split again. So Harding with Kazuki on the right over here. Ozil with Furan on the left over there. And according to the ranking on the left, so the Swedish have the first place, but then followed with 2, 3 for the Japanese, 4, 5, 6 for Sweden, and 7, 8 for Japan. In a 4v4, you want 36 points or less, so you want to avoid being in the 7 and 8 position. We'll see who reaches this mark first. And obviously, the most comfortable position is to start the second upwind first, that you can have control on the fleet beneath you. But maybe reaching the first downwind first isn't necessarily the strategy, because you are going to be put in the wind shadow, so if the other team is close to you, it is a risk. But it kind of depends how the teams and the players prefer to play. But Yoko is going to be the first one to round the mark. Harding is also going to be rounding the mark, pushing Ozul away, launching the speed and taking some speed above Totexi, who had to steer up to stay away from his wind shadow. But 1 and 2 so far are for the Swedish. But they are being chased by Ozul and Totexi. As Kuich is going to put a penalty. No, Kuich is going to take the penalty from Alakomor, meaning that the Swedish are in a pretty strong position right now. Uran is going to try to focus on Totexi, try to slow him down so that Harding can get some clean air, though Harding is going to be chased by Ozul and Totexi, who are getting closer and closer. Managing to put him in their wind shadow, and looks like they're going to be able to overtake him very soon, unless he gets help from one of his teammates. But Furan is himself being slowed down by Kazuki. Meanwhile, Yoko is not slowing down. You can see at the top of the screen over there. With the 160-meter lead so far, the first position is a strong position in a 4v4, so it might be the best strategy to confirm that first place. As long as you don't finish 7 and 8, you are better than well, you're not going to lose. And if they can keep this 1 and 2, that might give the first point to Sweden. And Domar Johan, nice to see you in the chat. Go Sweden. Nice to see some support for the Swedish. And Harding manages to put a penalty onto Totexi, give him 1 or 2 seconds of being able to catch his breath after being chased by these two Japanese during the whole downwind, but managing to keep his second position, so props to him for that. Furan is very close behind. And Alakomor and Kuich have separated themselves a bit from the rest of the fleet, battling between each other over here. We saw Alakomor giving the penalty on Kuich at the start of the downwind and putting another penalty here on the mark. Let's focus back at the front of the fleet. Yoko and Harding have rounded the mark. Watch out to not slow your teammates down by covering them, as Yoko is going to attack over Ozul, and Harding is going to split and go to the left. And we are a bit in a no-wind zone, so there's only 12, 13 knots of wind, though it is coming in. You can see it on the screen with the dark patterns that you see in the water. That means that the wind shift and wind pressure is higher over there. And I have to agree with you, Donnie. That was some nice defending by Harding. keeping his second position against Ozio and Totexi, which is no small task. And now they just need to finish this upwind. If we take a snapshot of the ranking right now, 1 and 2, 5 and 8, that makes 10-26 for the Swedish. Meaning they'll have the win as Furon takes the penalty here from Totexi. So the goal for the Japanese here is likely going to try to push the two remaining Swedish to 7 and 8. As Harding and Yoko are hesitating to finish or come back and help. We see them slowing down, dialing down slightly. Harding deciding to stay above Totexi, and Yoko is going to join Kazuki and Koichi 31 471 on the right, sorry, and well, with maybe a favorable shift, Yoko might be able to finish in one in this last tack. He might need to attack again. Koichi can finish in a straight line. Harding is going to take the first place, but watch out because currently Furon and Alakamor are in 7 and 8. Yoko is going to take second place. Can the Japanese take the win over here? Koichi. So it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 for the Japanese and 7 and 8 for Sweden. Meaning that Japan might have taken the win again over here. We'll confirm that with the scores, but you have the ranking on your screen. So it is a win for for Japan, sorry. Show you the score right now. There you go. So it is a tie in points, so 18 points for each team. But the fact that Sweden has arrived first means that the round will go to Japan. And that's how team racing scores work. If there's a tie in points, the team which has the first place loses. So currently 3-0 for Japan. It was well played by Sweden. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. It was a nice comeback from Japan. And now we're off to the 5v5 offshore racer. With some very light winds in a very long boat. And here we go. Camera was in front of fleet, so I didn't catch if Sweden had a chance to try and push the last Japanese boat far back. Well done, Japan, though. Yeah, sorry about that. We did see one of the Swedish players put one of the Japanese a penalty at the start of the downwind, but at the end of the downwind, both boats were still together. But it is true, we didn't really see how the Japanese managed to push both Swedes at the back. But now with the 5v5, so 5v5 we want, it's 55 points in total, so you want to score 27 or less to take the win, as we have 5 seconds now before the start. So with the offshore racer, as I said, it was a very long boat, so there is the bowsprit in front, so watch out for the false starts. It can usually play some tricks. As we see Fold 1 taking a penalty start. Penalty start, penalty. What is that? That is basically when you take a penalty between T minus 14 seconds and T minus 3 seconds. While during that penalty, you take a second penalty and you cross the start line on port, the system is going to add you another 10-second slowdown because it judges that it is a penalty start. And we do see Sweet Sailor put a penalty here on Japan 985. With the offshore racer, the fleet is likely going to stay very close to each other, very compact. So there's going to be loads of overtaking, likely quite a bit of penalties. But the Japanese are going to be the ones reaching the mark zone first, managing to put a penalty on Winner and Yoko and Sweet Sailor as AMA and KGR take the lead. Swedish did fight back. They managed to put a penalty on Japan 985 and on Vegas at the back over here. In 5v5, the last places cost a lot of points, so you want to be, or like in any race, towards the top. But it looks like the Swedes currently have the last place, and the Japan has 1 and 2. So if we snapshot this ranking now, Japan is taking the lead, but not by a lot. It's 27 points or less to win the round. So Sweden still has a chance. We see a bit of fighting over here above with Sweet Sailor and KGR. Fortunately for the Swedish, Sweet Sailor was the one who took the penalty. And we see Ama on the top of your screen over there with Foiled One and Yoko behind him. But it is likely going to be Ama and KGR reaching the mark first, except unless Foiled One can do something to put a penalty on KGR, but he's not in the strongest position to do that, as KGR is going to be the first one to reach the mark zone and is going to try to apply or push out the two Swedish, give a bigger lead to his teammate Ama as Yoko takes the penalty, and Japan 985 is following just behind, followed by Sweet Sailor himself. No penalties or mark trap looks like over here. And the Japanese have decided to sail fast in front. We do see Yoko over here easing his sail, slowing down, trying to perform a mark trap on Japan 95. Is going to try to put the penalty to give room to his teammate Sweet Sailor to pass, and he does just that. Slows down Japan 95 almost to a full stop, and we have the two Swedish in front of Japan 95 now. What is happening at the back? Let's focus on this for this race. Ozil is going straight to upwind. Winner 20 is going to slow down, put a penalty on Vegas. Fashtan had to try to avoid Winner 20 as well to not take the penalty himself. And Winner 20 is going to stay on top the Japanese to try to prolong this penalty over there. At the top, it's going to be Ama who crosses the finish line first, as we do see Vegas taking another penalty on the ranking over there. KGR is going to cross second, and I think the Swedes are going to take 3, 4, 5. But with the current configuration, I think the Japanese are still winning, so they need to put one Swedish boat in front of another Japanese boat. That might be the case between Fashtan and Vegas over here. As the winner 20 is going to confirm 8th position. And it's going to be close between these two. But looks like Fashtan is going to cross the finish line first. And there we have the ranking. We'll do the maths and we'll confirm the scores. But maybe Sweden has taken the round from Japan this time. So we're able to give the start for race number 5. And it's going to be much easier for us to see which boat is on which team. Obviously, the darker skins now, the dark Swedish is well for Sweden, and now the Japanese are staying in white. 45 seconds to go. As the boats are approaching the start line, 6 seconds now, 5. Already a penalty over here on Alico Moore. And it's a go. In this 9v9 49er is going to be a lot of wins. It's going to be a very fast race and a very fast boat. And with the 49er, well, it is a very efficient upwind. You can't no point really in dialing down too much to try to get the roll tax or stuff like that. It has a very small wind shadow, so you got to be very close to your opponent if you want to slow them down efficiently. Let's have a quick overview. Of the fleet, we have one pod of 4 players on the left over there. While the rest are focusing on the right. Lashan is going to cross pass over here with Totexi. Watch out for the penalty tax over. And over here on the left, so watch out, we're changing the courses, so the mark is no longer left on starboard. This time it's going to be left on port. We did see this a couple of times in the previous matches. Some of the players getting confused and rounding the mark the round way. So mark is being left on port this time. It is the normal upwind downwind as we're used to on a Puerto Regatta inshore. And it's kind of hard to say who is winning. I feel that there's more Japanese in the top 9. We're on barely missing, Yuko over here. So Yuko is going to be chased by 2 of the Swedish players. Winner 20 has taken a penalty here. But the fleet is very condensed, very close. So anything can still happen. Couple penalties here and there from one team onto the other is going to give a huge advantage and gonna have a snowball effect for the rest of the races. So if the Swedish can't get enough players in the top 9, they got to make sure that the remaining Japanese players are as far back as possible. Because currently, if we count, we see 4 Swedish in the top 9 and 5 Japanese. So as I said that, I think it changed, and it's now the opposite: 5 Swedish in the top 9 and 4 Japanese, which is good for them, and which shows that the fleet is very close. You see 2 penalties for the Japanese at the mark rounding. It was Yuko and Queech 31 for 7-1. And we're now in a lot of winds, currently 26 knots of winds almost. And the Swedes have managed to take the 1, 2, 3 spots from Japan, but they also have 17 and 18. So those in the middle need to continue to do their work and try to slow down the Japanese. Now see that these players are sailing away from the darker zones. And you can see on the mini-map top left, darker zone is more on the left of the course. We do see a couple of the boats at the top of the screen over there, catching that wind pressure. Seabear and Furon are going to be the first 2 to round the mark, followed by a lot of Japanese and Fashtan, who takes a penalty over here, meaning that this whole bunch of Japanese boats are going to be able to overtake him. And Yuko doing a good job in trying to extend this penalty as much as he can, meaning that now, apart from 1 and 2, it is mostly Japanese in the top 9, and mostly Swedish in the bottom 5, bottom 6. And this is the last downwind, so this is the last chance for both teams to make their move. I think Japan did a very good job over here on that offset mark, penalizing enough the only Swedish that could have done some damage in the middle of the fleet, and putting 7 boats in front. Seabear was the first to cross the finish line, followed by Furon. That didn't change the 1 and 2 spots. But in the top 9, it is mostly Japanese, and in the bottom 9, it is mostly Swedish. So it looks like this round is going to go for Japan again. Here we have confirmation of the score of the ranking, and we'll do the calculation in just a second, as we're preparing the next race, which is going to be a 3v3 mixed back onto the J70. Let's watch that start procedure. This is, so if Sweden wants to have a chance to compete, let me have a look at the standings. So Poland is in 4th with 14 points, and Sweden is in 5th with 9 points. They still have 2 games to go, so if they have a narrow loss, it's going to add 4 points in total, assuming both of their second matches are a narrow loss. So they need to have a narrow loss and a narrow win at least if they want to overtake Poland. And Japan, they need to win 1 more game to get to 20 points in total, though they have lost against France, so they will not be able to overtake France, and they will just be confirming their second place, and that kind of depends on Italy's last match, which is going to be tomorrow. And while I'm saying that, 10 seconds to the start. Boats are getting closer to start line for this J70 mixed race. So we're seeing Kazuki and Kanako again. This duo has been very strong throughout the competition, and well, who else to join them but Yuko? Just to add that little extra leg edge. And on the Swedish side, it's going to be Romo, Harding, and Belster. Harding, which has had a good has done some good racing so far. Belster, we said, unless it was a name change, is new on the Swedish side. I don't remember seeing them, so we'll see what she can do. But so far, we have most of the fleet going on the left over here, but we do see Rommel and Kazuki deciding to get that wind pressure on the right. You had a bit on the right, and you had also a bit on the left. We're switching back to the N-shaped course, so that means that this first upwind mark is going to be rounded by leaving it on starboard. So watch out on that, not to forget to round the mark the correct side or the correct way. And both of these boats have decided to tack, and they're going to follow the ley line on, well, towards the mark. Currently, according to the ranking on the left, it's going to be 1, 2, 3 for Japan. But Belster could be in a good position to catch up this top 3 Japanese. Already overtaking Kazuki according to the ranking. But the Japanese are going to be the first to reach the mark, and Yuko is going to go straight into Belster to put the penalty. Belster tried to avoid it and is now in a tricky situation because they've been slowed down. She's been slowed down while she was tacking. So slow down, took the penalty slow down, plus being head to win is going to affect the speed a lot. And suddenly she's in 6th position with the Kanako and Yuko in 1 and 2. Chased by Harding, so it's going to be Harding again. Trying to catch the first 2 Japanese. Kazuki is going to do his best to slow him down. But he's going to have to focus on Rommel and Harding, because if he lets Harding go, Rommel is still in reach, I believe, and Harding is going to push Kazuki away, trying to protect his teammates. But it is a 3v3, so 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 wins. Currently, that is for the Japanese. So the Swedish need to do something to push one of these, either Yuko or Kanako into out of the top 3, and hopefully in 5 and 6. Then the 3v3, it's 21 points in total. So you want 10 points or less. Harding here takes a penalty from Kazuki. Belster came back into the mix. Is she in range of Kanako? Looks like she is, going slightly faster. But that may be a little too late to make a real difference in this current leg. Rommel is not too far behind, and we do see Harding struggling against Kazuki over here. Kazuki managing to put another penalty on Harding. And Kanako and Yuko have, are rounding this first downwind mark. They're gonna go into the upwind leg soon. They have quite a bit of a lead. And if they can keep this 1 and 2, or even 1 and 3, if they do make a mistake, it's not that big of a deal, because 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 is winning. And the Swedish have decided to let Belster continue to try to catch up. Rommel has slowed down. And I think the goal for the Swedish over here is to put Kazuki into 6. And they're going to hope that Belster is able to catch one of the 2 Japanese in front. That's going to be a lot of work for the Swedish as Harding try to put a mark trap on Kazuki. As Rommel takes the penalty from Kazuki, Yuko Kanako still in front, far in front. And I think you're going to be wrong with your prediction again, Chris 1707D. I think that's a joke, right? Currently 5-0 for Japan. Looks like Japan is going to take the win again in this round, so it's going to be a 6-0. And it is going to be another win for the Japanese, 1 and 2. Is a winning combo. And for good sport, Belster is going to try to put a penalty here on Kazuki before crossing the finish line, but by doing so, giving the 3rd place to Kazuki likely. Doesn't really matter though, because the 1 and 2 is a winning combo, and Kazuki deciding to let that 3rd place to Belster. And Harding confirming the 5th place. So 1-2-4 for Japan. 3-5-6 sorry for Sweden, making it 6-0 for Japan. So with the F50, well, as any race, the start is very important, but more so with the F50, reaching that first reaching mark and first downwind gives you a huge advantage and is a lot easier to win if you can do that. It is a very fast boat, so you want to reach or cross that start line at peak velocity, so you want to start far from it so that you are ready at max speed when you're starting the actual race after the start line. Sailing instructions need to be published and the schedule needs to be confirmed. But from behind the scenes, I do believe that we're going to continue on with the quarterfinals next week and do the semifinals, bronze final, and grand final in January after the Christmas break. 6 seconds to go. Looks like we're going to have a slightly late starter from Japan over here. It's a go. We do see 2 penalties, one on Sea Bear, one on Wimwe. Japan 985 has done a good start, but he's neck and neck with Foil. He has the slight advantage because he is on his port, but it is a fairly even start. Ala Komor taking the penalty by crossing Japan 985 over there. But we do still see Foiled maintaining this first spot, and Ala Komor taking another penalty here from KGR. But managing to escape. We see a split over here. Foiled one is going to attack. Japan 985 dodges. And now it's going to be with Romo Trains. over here is a knockouts picked at random who plays who. So with this round robin stage, that actually creates the seeding for the knockout stage. With 7 teams in total, that means that the first team will get a bye and will go straight to the semifinals. Currently, it is France, meaning that the second team will play against the 7th, the third against the 6th, the 4th against the 5th. So the final ranking is still not decided yet, so it's hard to really predict, well, know for sure, because it can still change. Which is why Sweden need to limit. So if they have a decisive loss, which is going to be the case now with the 6-0, they're going to need a decisive win for their next match, which is going to be against Germany tomorrow. For Japan, they've done their decisive win, so they're going to be at 20 points in total. They're going to equal France, but having lost against France, they're going to take second place, and then it's going to depend also how Italy plays against Switzerland tomorrow. But we'll go over all the remaining matches in a second. Currently, it is 1-2 for Sweden. Seabear at the back taking a penalty. And Foiled and Rommel are quite far ahead, so that's good. And they just need to make sure that their remaining teammates, Alakomor and Seabear, do not finish in 7 and 8 position. That's what happened in the previous 4v4. With the Japanese managing to push both Swedish at the back, as Rommel and Foiled have rounded the mark, and I'm going to head over to the last upwind before another downwind and reaching finish. So, Chris, your prediction might be accurate. A6-1. Japan 95 managed to get kind of close. Don't think that's going to be enough, and between Quich and Alakomor over here. Well, let's see, because it can change very fast with the F50. A penalty can really disturb everything. As this boat is very fast, so if you get slowed down, you're going to be overtaken almost immediately. As long as the Swedish stay away from that 7 and 8, they have it in the bag for this race. The Japanese did manage to slow them down. Seabear did take a penalty. Are they going to be able to push Alakomor in 7? Alakomor does take the penalty over here again, meaning that they have taken now 7 and 8. Japan is in front, and if it finishes like this, Japan has snatched that last win from Sweden. Rommel decided to not finish and came back. Fortunately, a little too late now, and the victory is going to go to Japan. That was a nice move from the Japanese at the end, managing to push both the Swedish at the back. This is going to be another win for Japan. And so final score is going to be a 7-0 for Japan, so a decisive win for them. And we're going to go over the the standings and talk about the next matches and what it means for the knockout stages. And there we have the final standings. So France still in first place with 20 points, tied with Japan also with 20 points, but Japan having lost to France, the ranking goes in favor of France. Italy in third with 16 points. They still have one match to play, which is going to be tomorrow versus Switzerland at 8 p.m. UTC. This match is not going to be streamed, but it's going to be recorded, and we'll give you updates of the score as the match that will be streamed is continuing. Poland in fourth position with 14 points, having played all other races. So they're hoping for to keep that fourth place, make it slightly easier for them in the knockout stages. Sweden currently in fifth with 10 points. They still have one match to go, and that's going to be against Germany tomorrow at 8 p.m. UTC. This match is going to be streamed, so we'll see you all over there. Germany in sixth position with 8 points, playing, as I just said, tomorrow versus Sweden at 8 p.m. UTC, and Switzerland in seventh position with 7 points are going to play against Italy tomorrow at the same time as Germany versus Sweden. That match is not going to be streamed, but we'll give you updates as they come. Well, that's it for me today. This has been your host, Oscar. Thank you all for joining. Congratulations for Japan, and to Japan, and we'll catch you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. UTC for Germany versus Sweden. Bye.